Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. Well, I usually have a topic in mind when I do a podcast so that we can start the theme and kind of wind my way through my thinking process out loud in many ways. And I think that's really kind of the point of the podcast tonight, is that it's been kind of like writer's block in a lot of ways, where it feels like you cannot figure out what there is to talk about, what there is to learn, what there is to know, what different things there are out there to experience. And if you listen to my podcasts at all, you will know that I have traveled down many spiritual journeys and meditation journeys and had lots of visions and communication with entities outside of this reality in various names, shapes, sizes, types. And it seems like I've been given a lot of information, not necessarily here to prove that any of the information I've ever received is correct, just my experiences. So I do not like the phrase for entertainment purposes only, so I won't necessarily say that. But this is not necessarily meant to be factual or to prove anything to you. But I have found myself over the last couple of weeks just kind of being in this weird space. I'm sure you guys know what this is like, where it feels like all you're doing is going to work, coming home, going to bed, getting up, doing the same thing over and over, wearing the same uniform in my case, eating much of the same things, doing the same type of work all day long, going through all kinds of things that just seem like it's Tuesday all over again, like Groundhog Day, right? Where it's just over and over and over. And I get that we are here to survive and to live in this world. But what struck me about a really short video I watched the other day, I think it was on TikTok, I don't know, but it was like a 7-minute video or something, not real long, where this guy was talking about the fact that much of what we do in our daily lives, and all the restrictions and the boundaries we have through laws and rules and all that kind of stuff, is not much different than being in jail. He was comparing it to being in jail, where you are free within a certain space. And that seems to be very true in our world today. If you ever really want to know how laborious laws are, try breaking them one time. I simply watered my lawn on the wrong day during the restriction time frame. I thought I was doing it right. Apparently I wasn't. Anyway, got a ticket for it. And before court, I was going on the city websites and looking at the water laws. Oh my gosh, they were immense. I mean, there's laws for laws on top of laws and rules and things that have been on the books for a very, very long time. So are we free in some ways? Sure. We can go down to the grocery store and pick amongst the products that are down there and decide what we're going to buy. Maybe we like this kind of toothpaste or this kind of shampoo or that brand of chicken, or we go down to the car dealer and we can pick out the kind of car we would like to have, assuming we can afford it and credit's good, all that kind of stuff. But really, there's not a lot of things that we can do different every day. And that's what this one guy was talking about in the video, is like, he said there might be 7 different things you do all day long. And I really thought about that, and that's kind of true in many ways. But it really does kind of put a squash on human growth in a lot of ways. And yes, we can grow within and through spiritual paths and through enlightenment and through meditation and all these different things. But the worldly part of our trajectory seems to be very, very limited in many ways. And even if you look at success and really measure what people are doing and look at what people consider success and what can you really get out of this life, it's like becoming rich and famous is one of the main things. And it's practically maybe one of the major ways to ever make any impacts on this planet or in this place, this reality. But there are those of us that, yes, money and fame sounds really cool, but an overabundance of those is not necessarily my idea of a great time, because along with that comes many different problems. And so then you kind of get stuck in this weird space where, for example, I know how to connect through meditation to the other side, call that other side whatever you like, and get these really crazy streams of information and a lot of really interesting things that I could never get through normal avenues, through normal channels. And I've done that so many years, it almost feels like I've learned so much that it's hard to even know what to ask for when you go into meditation. And even if you open it up and say, what is it I need to learn? More recently, I've been getting the message, well, it's that time of waiting. It's that time for waiting on the next phase of this world and the way things are going to go. And I don't know about you guys, but that's a really hard answer to swallow. Why would I want to wait? And I guess that's the human way. When somebody tells you you have to wait or you can't do something, that just really puts a dent in your attitude, doesn't it? And so it's like a very frustrating place to be sometimes, where you're gifted enough to connect, and you're gifted enough to get answers from beyond, yet they're not coming. The answers are not necessarily there. I'm not saying I don't get them, but not at the level that I'm used to. And I'm beginning to wonder why that is. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So we can turn our focus towards the world in itself. I was beginning to kind of wonder why, or compare why, we feel like we are transcending, that things are changing, there's change in the air, the energy's changing, everything feels like we're transitioning to a new realm or a different dimension. We're going through the Great Awakening, and that may very well be, and I do believe that's probably true, at least with my experience. But one of the things that's really been standing out to me lately is the amount of distractions we have in this world. I mean, we just went through, 2 weeks or so of major issues with Iran and the bombing of Iran and all the rhetoric back and forth, and everybody's getting all worried and all kinds of things have happened. And all of a sudden that's on the back burner. Now we got something new. We got, a young kid that started a fire and then ambushed all the firefighters or the responders and shot a bunch of them up, killed a couple of them. And now we got the big, beautiful bill coming through. And it's like you can't even get wrapped around one topic before the next one comes. If somebody gets a hold of something and they run with it, like the new thing I've seen on TikTok or social media in general is some claim that there was an Anunnaki message that interrupted a TV station back in the 70s and apparently more recently. And people that just catch on to that and they talk about it and they get on there and they talk about something they have no clue about. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying it is amazing to watch the movie that is playing in front of us, all around us in this world. And it's like you cannot ever seem to concentrate on one thing before the next thing is coming around to grab your attention. So it's no wonder that many of us feel like we're not getting anywhere and that we're not progressing, we're not learning. It's because we are being distracted so much. I mean, if you look at my phone, it's just chirping all day long. I got a couple of them. Actually, I got 3 of them. For work, I have 2 of them. One of them is a personal one. But I have multiple work emails on my phone. I have multiple personal emails on my phone. I have multiple personal business emails on my phone. I have all these notifications all day long, all night, that just continue to come through. And it's like you can't really, it's very difficult to find focus in this world because of these distractions. It is very difficult to get away from them. Yes, I get it. The kind of work I do, I have to be on top of things and I cannot really let notifications go. And it's just part of what I do. But it's like trying to take and chop down a tree. You got your little axe or your big axe and you're swinging at the tree and you hit it in 1,000 different places, it's never going to come down. But if you can hit it, if you can manage to focus yourself and not get distracted and hit it in the same place 1,000 times, you have a lot better chance of taking that tree down. But without focus, it is very difficult to achieve anything or to learn anything. It's like trying to catch 3 rabbits at the same time, and they're all going different directions. You put your energy towards one, then the other, and you end up not catching any of them. Finding time and energy and dedication to focusing on a craft or an idea or a goal is so tremendously different or difficult in this times or the times we live in. When I grew up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and all that, we did not have any of this. I'm not saying it was better. I'm saying it was different. There were distractions, but nothing that was at the tip of your fingertips. Phones ringing all day long, messages coming through, texts, social media, all these different things were just really not there. And we found our own ways to distract ourselves, but it was a lot more difficult to distract yourself or become distracted. Because I've often kind of thought about what would it be like to perhaps be granted the opportunity to go back into my timeline, say to 21 years old, and try making different choices and seeing how much different my life may have turned out or would turn out by making other choices. And then I began to wonder, wow, how boring might that be without all the creature comforts that we have now? If I want to order something, I just go on the internet, most of the time on Amazon, and you can find almost anything you can dream of. They are making it and selling it somewhere. And if I need to know information, I can pick up my phone and I can access just about every repository on this planet through the internet network and all that. And I can watch just about any types of video I'd like, any kind of movie I'd like. I don't watch movies, but when you're back in those days, you really had to figure out how you were going to entertain yourself, how you were going to find fulfillment in life. And it tended to be more with, hanging out with people, enjoying each other, your hobbies and things like that. And of course, work and things like that kept you busy, which it always will. But it was a way different time. And so we now find ourselves in the midst of great change. And there's many ways of looking at that. But no matter how you look at it, spiritually, metaphysically, religiously, technologically, any kind of way you look at it, it is exponentially changing. I've been watching a lot of videos recently about artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and you've heard me talk about these things a lot. But I was watching some of the documentaries about people that would spend weeks interacting only with artificial intelligence. I guess fake girlfriends, different things that they ask the AI to be for them. And some of it is quite troubling. We're taking it to a whole new level these days, where we are really beginning to take the environment I was talking about, 60s, 70s, 80s, where people were your life, and that's how you learn to become enriched and to grow your life and to have meaning in life. And now meaning has really changed. And that may be part of the reason why it's difficult now to feel like you're at a place where you feel like you should know what you want to learn, to know what you want to know, to discover things that you want to discover. I don't know about you guys, but I go on YouTube, for example, just to see if I could hear somebody say something different that I haven't heard. And it is all the same stuff. Everybody's talking about the same things, it seems. And there's nothing that seems to be new. For me, and I'm sure most human minds out there, it is very difficult to go through your day seeking and knowing that you need to know something more, or do you feel like it's right there, like you can almost grab it, yet you can't seem to grab it. And meditation seems a little bit off. Meditation seems to be different. Not completely. I mean, I'm not saying it's completely quiet and there's a complete block, but it seems to be changing a little bit. And of course, it could simply be because I've had to work so many hours these days with all the civil disturbance and all the emergencies across the state of Texas, and it's just really encompassing and makes you very tired. And so I guess that may be part of it, of course, because when you're tired, it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to focus as well. And let's just face it, when you're trying to meditate, try to connect, it really does take like an inactive focus. I don't know how else to say it, because meditation is not something you force. But if you're falling asleep and you can't keep a semi-level of consciousness, it's hard to remember what you've experienced. The world is really challenging us, challenging me for sure. And it's trying to really, it seems, the world feels like it is dragging us all down. It is keeping us so distracted and so tired and so busy that we have a hard time connecting and figuring out who we are, where we're going, what we should do. And it can be very frustrating. So I want to encourage you guys that are out there that may find yourself in the same space where it feels like you're getting nowhere fast and that it doesn't feel like there's anything new to learn or there's anything new to do or any new experiences that are not what everybody else is doing. And, all those prison ideas that we talked about before. And we have to really be patient sometimes. And I know that's difficult. I'm not the most patient person in the world when it comes to certain things. And knowledge is one of those. I really struggle with not learning something more extravagant every day, because I've had some really, really amazing meditation journeys, visions, all kinds of things that would just has blown my mind. And it really just puts me in awe about the expanse of all the knowledge that there is out there. And then when you get put on a low burn, I guess not banished, but you kind of been turned down on the experiences for some reason, maybe because it's not time to learn anything else. There's other things I need to experience, other things I need to learn within the world, perhaps. And it just really puts a damper on things, and it makes you feel like you're disconnected. Have you guys ever felt like you're disconnected out there? And even you could be around people all day long. You could be at your job all day. You could go out. You could, do your hobbies. Mine is soccer. And it just still feels like you are alone. I mean, I personally don't mind rather being alone. Being alone is pretty cool for me, but being around people and still feeling like you're by yourself is really odd. Now, that might explain the theory behind that we may be creating our own world, that everybody in our world is simply just there as characters, who knows? And that might explain that mentality or that experience. But once again, I wanted to encourage everybody to not give up. And just because I feel like I am in a lull or a point of being stalled, a point of being kind of slowed down, that I still attempt and I still try and I still meditate and I still connect or try to connect. And just the other day, I had a really great meditation message and conversation with an entity, and it was really an interesting, cool experience. So I don't want everybody to give up out there, because it happens to everybody. And I've been meditating and connecting on purpose anyway for, almost 11, 12 years now. And it has been quite the experience, and it is very enlightening. But this world is really carrying us into a direction that I think we're all going to be challenged to a very big extreme. There's multiple changes happening on every front, massive changes within the administration of the United States, which are affecting all the worldly, or the other parts of the world rather. And it is really putting the kibosh on everything. Everything is just going into turmoil. I'm not saying it's our administration's fault. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's part of the things that are perhaps spurring it on. And I want to caution everybody to be mindful that even though you may find yourself in a place like I am currently, last couple of weeks, where it feels like I'm lost in the sauce and this experience is all around me and it just feels like I'm kind of floating on the sea by myself, that's okay sometimes. Maybe that's what we need to do or be or experience at this time. But that doesn't mean that you are not important. Every person that's on this planet right now and in this place is important, because without a bunch of individual parts of the whole, there could be no whole. There could not be a complete earth. And so we all play a role. We all play a part. And, sometimes things are good. Sometimes things are bad. Sometimes you feel enlightened. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're well off with your finances. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes your relationships suck. Sometimes they're great. It is important as human beings, I think, to actually have ebbs and flows, to have changes, to have challenges, because without them, I think life would become very boring. Different boring than what I'm talking about. Boring because you don't have to try. You don't have to work. You don't have to excel in anything, because it all just seems to be given to you. Everything would be perfect, and there would be no challenges. You'd never grow. You'd never become a solid human being. It wouldn't take much to topple you. The real warriors are wrought in the battles that they fight. It's not that the battles become easier. It's that they become stronger and more hardened and better warriors. While this world is drastically and very quickly changing and going in a direction that is going to be very, very difficult, even more so than it is now, it is important to remember that you have to be that warrior. You have to allow the battles to come. You have to fight them. You have to win at them and then prepare yourself for the next one, because they're not going to stop. They never have. They never will. This world has always been a constant battleground. Looking back at our known history, there's been wars and rumors of wars and battles and armies against armies and just all kinds of horrible things that have been happening on this planet. And that's not going to change. It may be different in certain areas of the planet where wars and things like that are not nearly as bad as others. But no matter where you are, war can come to your doorstep in a very short minute, very, very quickly. And so we have to really take the time. I think this is going to be the point of the podcast, is that we really have to take the time to learn who we are, to become that warrior, to actually put time into ourselves, put time into our journey, look at all the experiences we go through, learn from them, figure out what the lessons were, chalk that up, put them in your books to reread later, and to carry that on to the next one, because the next battle's coming. You know, we get a little rest maybe. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's battle after battle after battle. Other times we get those rest times. I think there's going to be a whole lot less rest times coming up. And things are going to challenge us beyond our imagination. And so we need to really, really, really put time into ourselves, our families, those that we love, that are close to us, and really understand that we're going to have to be able to stand up for ourselves, for our beliefs, for our dignity, for our value as human beings. We're going to have to do that. And I don't care where you live, even if it's in some of the safer parts of the world, it can easily show up on your doorstep, like I said. All right, I'll get off my soapbox, but I think you understand that sometimes we are in good times, sometimes we are in bad times. Accept the lull, accept the boring times, accept the times when things don't seem like they're progressing. It's okay. Maybe it's just your time to collect and reset and get ready for the next battle, because it is here. All right, I encourage you guys to go over to my website, take a look around, lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. And there's some services there. There's some products there. My wife makes awesome leather products, by the way. And I really look forward to working with you guys. I learn, you learn, everybody learns, and we will all progress together. Talk to you soon. Look forward to hearing from you. Stay strong and live your life.